Welcome to the Eye Opener. I'm your host, Michael Lewis. This week, we see some massive updates regarding election audits in key disputed states. We'll go over those with you and especially the Arizona Senate hearing, where the auditors dropped some shocking numbers. We all know that the Cuban protests are about freedom from communism, yet the Biden administration refuses to acknowledge that. Moreover, there's a big division within the Democratic Party as to how to handle the situation. And make sure to stay to the end of today's show. We'll share a life story with you. We believe it'll bring you courage and hope when facing difficult life decisions. Okay, my friends, let's take a closer look at the week's highlights together. Last Sunday, Cuba had the largest protest in decades. Thousands of Cubans went to the streets demanding freedom and an end to communism. The country is experiencing the worst economic crisis since the fall of the Soviet Union. In response to massive unrest, Cuban authorities blocked internet services to restrict the flow of any information off the island. People around the world want to know how family members are surviving the economic crisis and the pandemic under the communist regime. In the United States, Cuban Americans organized Free Cuba rallies and urged the Biden administration to take action. Florida, with the largest Cuban American population, hosted major gatherings against the communist oppression in Cuba. In Miami on Tuesday, protesters blocked the Palmetto Expressway, the largest highway that connects the city. In contrast to the overwhelming destructive BLM riots of last summer, the Free Cuba movement has been peaceful, with minimum reports of police activity and no notable property damage. On Monday, Biden released a short statement saying that his administration stands with the Cuban people and their call for freedom. He called on the Cuban regime to serve its people. However, since then, the White House hasn't taken any concrete action to help the Cubans. Biden was criticized for not being able to address the nature of the crisis. It's communism, not mismanagement, which people are protesting. Senator Marco Rubio said the Biden administration can impose new sanctions, open up satellite internet access on the island, and issue a clear and unambiguous statement that the current policies implemented by the Trump administration will remain in place. Biden hasn't done any of those. In fact, during the 2020 presidential campaign, he promised to reverse Trump's Cuba policies. However, given the size, scope, and organic nature of the protest, he may be forced to reconsider. At the same time, Democrats' responses to this historical protest are deeply divided. On Tuesday night, the Florida Democratic Party Resolutions Committee approved a measure calling for additional sanctions against the leaders of the failed socialist communist regime. Democrats who criticize Cuba suggest the uprising could provide the Biden administration with an opportunity to support a regime change. Democrat Senator Bob Mendez raised objections to allowing Americans to send money to family members or assist with vaccine access if the Cuban government is involved. Under a totalitarian regime, those in power turn all resources and goods into tools to further suppress the people. Leftist Democrats took a starkly different stance. They're largely in favor of the failed Obama policy to establish relations with the island. Senator Bernie Sanders called to end the unilateral U.S. embargo on Cuba, claiming it's hurting Cubans. The truth is, what Sanders really supports is communism. He has a decades-long record of defending communist regimes around the world, dating as far back as 1985. Some radical members find themselves in a tricky situation. They can't condemn a system that's similar to their own socialist ideals. For this reason, AOC and her squad had little to say. Now, moving to another big topic, election integrity. This week has been truly eventful. In Pennsylvania, at least one of the counties targeted for forensic investigation of the 2020 election has refused access to its voting machines. Tioga County Commissioners decided not to give access to its voting machines or system components after receiving a directive from the Pennsylvania State Department. The directive orders county boards not to give third-party access to voting machines. If they do, the equipment examined will be considered tampered with and removed from future elections. But who can then assure the voting machines aren't compromised during the election. If an independent third-party examination is prohibited, is it Dominion, the County Board of Elections, or is it the State Department? State Senator Doug Mastriano, who triggered the forensic analysis, accused Pennsylvania Governor Democrat Tom Wolf of weaponizing the State Department to intimidate county officials and obstruct the audit. He also questioned the validity of the directive as it was issued through the acting Secretary of the Commonwealth, Veronica de Graffenried, who hasn't been officially confirmed. In Pennsylvania, the state legislature is controlled by Republicans and it has oversight and subpoena powers over state election. If a county refuses to hand in election equipment by the end of July, Mastriano will ask his committee to issue subpoenas to proceed with the investigation. Currently, the other two counties, York and Philadelphia, haven't responded to the request. In Tioga County's reply, they said Pennsylvania did 2 audits after the election. Nothing of significance was found. Well, we heard the same thing from Georgia's Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger. He said no widespread irregularities were found in 3 separate audits. But an election watchdog group, VoterGA, on Wednesday dropped the bombshell. Fulton County's 2020 election had serious issues. The group analyzed mail-in ballot images obtained through a court order and discovered 60% of the over 1,500 batch tallies audited didn't match the official vote count on election day. The analysis also found more than 4,000 ballots double counted and over 100,000 tally sheets missing. The findings were so compelling that even mainstream media paid attention. At least Fox and CBS News reported on it, and this time without using the word baseless. In light of the VoterGA's revelations, Raffensperger has put the blame squarely on Fulton County. He called for the firing of 2 county officials, Rick Barron and Ralph Jones. He said Fulton County's continued failures have gone on long enough with no accountability. True, but who's going to hold Raffensperger's accountable? He repeatedly denied voting irregularities and refused to look into the claims. Former New York Police Commissioner Bernard Kerik and Representative Jody Hice have called for him to resign. But if Raffensperger doesn't resign, he should immediately order a thorough investigation into Fulton County to prove whether the massive errors revealed affected the election outcome. In Arizona, Senate President Karen Fann on Tuesday confirmed that the audit's ballot count produced a different number from Maricopa County's official tally. The Senate is now conducting its own recount to compare. Until now, the county refuses to comply with a subpoena to hand over its routers or router images. They claim if surrendered, they would risk leaking sensitive personal data. At the same time, the county just signed a contract to acquire hundreds of new Dominion machines, completely replacing the ones the auditors have. They said the old ones must have been tampered with. The Democrats and county officials are acting like the Arizona audit is some sort of scam. We all know how much effort Senate Republicans have put in to ensure the transparency, accuracy, and thoroughness of the examination. Tucker Carlson made a good point. If progressives think the audits themselves may be corrupt, does that not reinforce the points that perhaps the American people should be concerned about election integrity? If you cannot trust an audit, how much can you trust an election? Yesterday at Arizona's Senate hearing, Fann gave an excellent and candid explanation why the audit matters. In fact, it is imperative. She said the audit is not about Trump. It is not about overturning the election. It's never been anything other than election integrity.
There was a poll that was recently done that 45% of people in Arizona, according to that poll, believe that we have serious problems with our elections. Have we done everything we possibly can to make sure these are fair, clean, honest elections?
At the hearing, the audit team also reported several shocking discrepancies. CEO of Cyber Ninja Doug Logan told senators there was no record of the county sending over 74,000 mail-in ballots that were received and counted in the election. Logan said it should trigger a canvassing proposal that was put on hold under pressure from the Justice Department. There are also significant irregularities on the voter rolls. Over 11,000 people from Maricopa County weren't registered on November 3rd, but showed up on December 4th's voter rolls, and they voted on November 3rd. Over 18,000 people voted on Election Day, but were soon removed from the voter rolls. there are a number of other discrepancies. Because the county's documentation was so poor, Logan said they couldn't reach definitive explanations on many of the findings. As the next step, the Arizona Senate is expected to find ways to obtain the additional items auditors want, possibly through issuing new subpoenas and hopefully approving canvassing effort. Next up, we have information on the border and more about the economy. But before we continue, I want to take a quick second to ask all my friends watching and the live chat family to please take a moment to hit the like button. Subscribe if you haven't already, but most importantly, share this video. I'm depending on you, my friends, and the power of word of mouth to spread the truth. We cannot depend on YouTube to do this. Also, to support the Eye Opener team, please donate to the show or purchase a mug that matters. You can find the link in the description below, and your support, as always, is greatly appreciated. Salute. With the ongoing border crisis, for some unknown reason, Customs and Border Protection has yet to release official numbers for June encounters of illegal crossings. Unofficial and preliminary calculations set the number at about 188,000, a slight increase from May. This proves that the Biden administration's claim that surges have been seasonal and that the number would go down in the summer is dead wrong. CBP is on track to mark its 1 million border arrests since the beginning of 2021. Along with the historic surge, there has been a high number of rescues and, unfortunately, the discovery of many dead migrants. Turning now to the economy, employers added 850,000 jobs last month. It was the strongest gain since August 2020. Yet America remains 6.8 million jobs short of February 2020 before COVID-19 flattened the economy. The major inflation metric, CPI, increased by 5.4% through June, representing the largest year-over-year increase since 2008. Last month's rising prices were largely driven by price hikes in used cars and trucks. The Labor Department suggested production bottlenecks and supply squeezes have caused the upticks. It claims it'll take some time to resolve, but inflation won't last long. Yet if inflation does persist, we'll be taxed more. It further shrinks the purchasing power of your dollars. To curb inflation, the Fed actually has few options. One solution will be to raise rates to cool down the high demand, but that carries the risk of negatively affecting the stock market. Now, before we go to the weekend, I want to end today's program with an inspiring life story. It's about doing what we know is right, regardless of the challenges. When one door closes, another door opens. Desiree Alford is an entrepreneur from Black Diamond, Washington, who once believed abortion was the only way to cope with her unplanned pregnancy. However, the night before her appointment, God worked a miracle in her life. Desiree kept her baby, and now her daughter, Hartley, is 10 years old. She can't imagine her life any other way. Desiree got pregnant at 28. At the time, she was 9 months sober after beating an alcohol addiction. Unemployed and knowing she would be parenting alone, Desiree was devastated. She felt the pregnancy was another setback. Desiree was raised in a church-going Christian family, so she had strong opinions about abortion. However, financially, she was at a terrible place in her life for her new baby. After some painful struggles, at 6 weeks, Desiree scheduled an abortion. But that didn't quell the doubt in her heart about her decision. The day before the abortion, Desiree headed out to her parents' lake house. Driving under a clear blue skies, she glanced heavenward. She was telling God that if she was supposed to keep this baby, he needed to send a sign as clear as the sky. Little did she know, 2 people were already at the lake house waiting to meet her. Desiree's parents had invited a middle-aged couple to talk to Desiree about their own painful abortion experience. She listened. The couple handed Desiree an 8-week fetal model and called her a mom for the first time. They even offered to adopt Desiree's baby. That evening, Desiree attended church. The signs mounted. The topic of the sermon was the miracle of life. However, that wasn't the strongest sign. She got a voicemail from Planned Parenthood. Her appointment had been delayed by 2 days. Desiree changed her mind. She said her pregnancy was one of the most peaceful times of her life. Finding peace, Desiree even resolved her financial and parenting challenges. When her daughter Hartley was born, she could barely imagine life in any other way. She said, "I thought that it was going to ruin my life. It was the exact opposite, as all of us parents know. Desiree started making headbands for Hartley and later turned that into a business, Hearts and Pearls. Through the business, she met her husband, Ron. Eventually, her business did well enough that Desiree bought her first home. She said it felt like God's answer to my dreams of staying home with my children. And he was saying, I'm taking care of you. Now, Desiree hopes her story will inspire others who may be experiencing similar struggles. She wrote, "In the middle of my pain, I thought I had my entire life ahead of me, and I had plenty of opportunities to have children at a better time. I truly believe my life has been blessed, not for me, but to now help others that desperately need it, like I once did. No matter your situation, God can and will use it for good." That's it for today, my friends. Let me know how you like this new format. And join me on the Eye Opener Telegram chat room. And follow me on YouMaker, Gab, Parler, and Getter. I'd like to thank you all. Have a wonderful weekend, and I'll see you next time.